Hey, hey, and we are live. Welcome everyone tonight to another edition, another episode of Afterburn Soccer. As we talk about FC Dallas, North Texas, and plenty of other topics. We hope that you find your way to our channel tonight and chat with us and shape the show. But regardless, we're going to have a good time as we get talking tonight. My name is Nathan Hill. You can follow me at Nathan J. Hill. I'm the little wrangler for this here thing. There in the middle is our good buddy Jose Carmona at El Chico Carmona, and he's working out some technical issues to get things going. And we welcome Ishmael Belcora at Belcora Ishmael on Twitter, one of our North Texas resident reporters, to talk about FC Dallas, to talk about North Texas, to talk about the drama surrounding the team this past weekend. And we got some clips. We got some post-game clips from Nico Estevez. I was able to actually, since I'm on the West Coast now, attend the game in person from the press box and ask Nico a couple of questions in person about the loss. So let's just start there. FC Dallas loses at LA 2-1, down a man most of the match as Emma Tumasi is sent off. They gave up an early goal off the press. It was not an inspiring display, and yet the team hung around, tied the game up, and then gave up a late goal to lose all 3 points. So let's start there and get our reactions. Jose, is it working? Can you hear us? Well, maybe he is working out his technical issues. Ishmael, let's start with you. What were your reactions from this loss for FC Dallas?
I think we showed a lot of grit. I think the team showed like a lot of fight against the adverse conditions of what ended up happening. When you get three different VAR decisions against you, I'm not saying any of them were technically incorrect, but a lot of them were um, like a subjective point of view, as is the nature of refereeing. But despite all of that, to really like show like a lot of heart in the game was really um, it made the loss a little bit more bearable. And I think it's worth noting again that LAFC more likely than not is going to win some kind of trophy this year. And so when you look at losing to a team at their home stadium 2-1, a man down after conceding a penalty and getting a goal knocked off, um, it's a good result. It was a good performance. It's not a good result, but it's a good performance.
Yeah, yeah. It was. Now, Jose, can you hear us? All right, we're just not.
Sorry, guys.
We can hear you, Jose. I don't know. We can
See,
hear
now I can hear
you.
you all of a sudden. I can hear you all of a sudden. So I think something wrong with my headset. But anyway, go ahead. Ask your question.
Well, no, just your reactions to the game. Were you able to watch the match? I know you've been on the road.
I was, I was able to watch here and there, and honestly, I think at the end of the day, a 2-1 loss, being down a man for most of the match, um, against honestly the top team in the league, it's. I mean, I think we all wanted to get that at least that point. So it is disappointing, but it's not upsetting. I'm not
Yeah,
going to get upset over the result. I'm going to be upset, you know, disappointed as a fan that we didn't get, at least get a point out of there. But I'm not upset about it. If we were not down to 10 men and it was a 2-1 result, then I'd be upset and disappointed, and I'd have some, you know, I'd be upset over a lot of
yeah,
players. But
yeah,
once you're down to 10 men, honestly, you just want to hope your team has a chance to get out of there with something. And the team gave itself a shot,
mm-hmm.
you know. But it's just hard to keep a team like LAFC to only 2 goals, you know, or actually really allowing only 1 goal to them once you're down to 10.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
hopefully the team will take that as a positive, build on it, and put up, get us 3 points this next week.
Well, let's get into it a little bit more on this, but let's first hear from Nico. So I attended the game. It was an interesting experience to be in the press box and meet FC Dallas media staff and just be there present for the game. Which once they're down 1 goal and then they go down to 10 men, you're sort of like, well, it's going to be a long night, And I think even the FC Dallas media staff, and then FC Dallas just sort of hung around. They hung around. They, and created a chance. I even mentioned to the guy sitting next to me, and I said, "Hey, if they're going to get a goal, it's probably going to be off a set piece." And sure enough, the tying goal came in a truly bizarre center back fashion that we've now had 2 games where that has happened. An Ibiaga to Farai kind of exchange of sorts, and so for a moment you felt like FC Dallas outplayed LAFC over the course of the game. And it's something that Nico even talked about. And so it's disappointing for them to give up that late goal, even though they had another chance to at least try to get something on frame at the end. Didn't quite come together. So here's kind of Nico on how the team responded.
Well, the first thing is we didn't play good the first 15 minutes. We deserved that goal against, and we have to be critical on ourselves and look at ourselves first. And then I think after we score the goal, Cerillo's goal, I have doubts that how Hader can affect because he's very small, And then it's more, I think, Acosta trying to block that shot that doesn't let the goalkeeper to save it. Again, if you see his goalkeeper, McCarthy and Hader, he has a good view there. And after that, I think we kept responding, and then we had the red card. That is, it makes harder. You coming here against a good team and you get a red card. Also, difficult to accept because the measure that the referee was giving since the minute that Tillman grabbed from the neck Alan Velasco, and he didn't show a yellow card. He's putting that bar a little bit difficult to get cards. And if you see the play, what Ima is trying to do is not to go head to head. He's just turning his body to not go head to head. In this one, he doesn't have even his arm like this. He has opened his arm, and with the biceps, not with the elbow, with the biceps, he hits in his face. Then questionable one, but it didn't go in our favor. At halftime, we talked that we have a special group of players, and a special group of players do special things, and it's about going out there, recognizing that we didn't do well on the first 15 minutes, and believing that we could came back strong and having our chances in some counterattacks, some of the build-ups that we did well, even with 10 men, and set pieces to score and to put the game a little bit difficult for them. I think we did a good job on that, and then after. They had a little bit lag in the last goal. It was a not dangerous shot, and we put that goal in. But I think I'm very proud of my players. It's not easy to come here, start sloppy as we did, respond. Some of the calls didn't go in our way, and we kept responding. And this show a lot for the strength of this team. And we take some good learning lessons today to keep growing and to keep using that for the rest of the season.
First question after we heard Nico, and I just love how he talks about his players and his attention to the game. Was Emma done wrong? Was that a red card, in y'all's opinion?
I mean, again, it's really hard to look at these kinds of calls that are definitely orange calls and be like, yeah, it's a red card when you have a player in the Charlotte's New York game going cleats up on someone's knee and getting literally no cards. And in that same game, that same kind of play, a Charlotte player elbows someone in the face, high arm, and nothing gets called there either. Um, I think in a world where pro refs are consistent, which isn't going to happen anytime soon, uh, that is a call that should be a red card, just out of uh, an observation of safety, like just being overly cautious in those kinds of situations. We know Emma, it's not like he's going up elbow high, like he's not going up and cocking his elbow. It's just he does a weird movement with his body, and that gets it so that the arm is like right in someone's face. Yeah, it's elbow area to the face, but it's a difficult one to swallow because I don't know. Like Nico said, there's been inconsistencies, just not in just this game, but in other MLS games, and it's a difficult thing to accept whenever whenever pro isn't consistent.
Oh, you're muted. It just says you muted yourself, so. Well. Check on the interface, Jose. Yeah. So I think you have the ability to mute yourself in the little web browser or whatever. It's your headphones. Oh, that stinks. Was it a lot of MIGs there? Well, all right. It's all right, Jose. This is you. We'll work through it all. It just says. I see a little thing. It comes up that says you muted yourself. But all right. So this is the other thing about the game because I saw in the chat too, like right after Emma was sent off, there was another pretty tough tackle, Murillo of LAFC, and that maybe it should have gone to VAR. I haven't seen any replays of it, so I can't say one way or the other. Myself, kind of whether FC Dallas got outdone there, but I did. So what was interesting was that I did. You notice that Nico got that yellow card right before halftime. He went basically up to the touch line by the fourth official and stood there, and the official came over and gave him a yellow card. So I asked him about that after the game as well, and this is what he said. I guess by the refs.
No, I did on purpose. I wanted to see my players. I'm fighting for them. I told them, and they have to get a red card. I'll get it. We are all fighting today together, and they have to see that I have the energy to fight with them. And then I think they saw that also, and it helped them to understand that we were fighting from the bench with them and helping them to achieve our objective today, that is coming here and win the champion.
Nico, gotta love that guy.
I mean, it says something that in all of these press conferences, Nico is usually very vague and like supportive and positive, like after games, despite like a loss or anything like that. He usually doesn't talk about referee decisions or anything like that. And so for him to do it like this, for him to come out, for him to get the yellow card before halftime, it shows that, like, again, it's not a game where you look at the decisions and you say these were wrong decisions, right? Nothing here was 100% an incorrect call. And like, I usually give refs the benefit of the doubt because I was a ref at some point. But when in the entirety of the game, the LAFC only have 2 yellow cards when we have like 5 or 6, and then we have a red card. And then you have the O'Brien who moves out of the way before the ball even passes him. And then you have the penalty kick where Siki doesn't even see the player coming up from behind him. Like, all of these things just make it so it just feels like an unfairly called game. And it's just frustrating because, like Jose said, LAFC is probably one of the, like, it's a really good team, probably one of the best in the league. And we were there, and we competed And so it feels like the loss was not because of mistakes, which there were, but it doesn't feel like that. It feels like the referee put his finger on the scale just a little bit, and that allowed LAFC to get what they needed.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, it's my headset. I bang on it a couple of times and I can see it coming in now. So I apologize for that. And I got to set it to get repaired. But what I was saying is I was agreeing earlier with Ishmael that basically, yes, you want to say that Demon deserved that red card, but you want to say it if that's called evenly across the league and in game. You don't see that, and that's what's frustrating. If that's not a red card elsewhere, then why is it a red card here, and vice versa? So just frustrating because, in general, it seems like when Dallas is on FC Dallas on the road, games tend to be called in favor of the opponents, or not necessarily called, but like Vancouver was allowed to be way more physical than you would like to see. Stuff like that. You see what to us appears like a clear home advantage for the home team when FC Dallas on the road, but you don't really see that at FC Dallas games. At least,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe I'm being a complete homer, but to me it appears that way. Not to the same level that you see these other teams getting. LAFC shouldn't need the help of the officials to beat FC Dallas.
Right. And I think Nico would agree with you, Jose. And he said it was interesting when he was asked a question by an LAFC reporter. He said, and I didn't pull the quote out, but that when they walked across to shake hands, that LAFC staff were told him that, hey, y'all deserve more. Y'all deserve something out of this match. And he said that doesn't happen very often. So I think even LAFC knew that they were a bit lucky. They benefited from some of those calls that maybe in other games are a little more 50-50, or a little more of that orange that kind of could maybe, yes, it could be a little harsh, that you typically don't get all those calls to go your way and over the course of a match.
And I mean, like this LAFC team, it wasn't it wasn't a full strength team because Bouanga wasn't in there at the start. You had Tillman who got his first start. You had their left back. They didn't have their full starting 11 because it's the international window, and so like that's another aspect that's a little frustrating because you come into this game and FC Dallas is pretty lucky where they haven't had a lot of players called up, and so this game it wasn't like LAFC dominated. They controlled the pace of the game because that's their style, but they
Right.
weren't they weren't the better team throughout the entire game. They were missing chances. They weren't really creating that many. It was based off of the little press that they do occasionally off of set pieces. They were a little bit dangerous, but they weren't the better, like they weren't dominating, and so it just feels frustrating whenever the team comes out and plays pretty well and still struggles to get doesn't even get the point that they definitely deserve.
Is it me or was Nico criticizing the refs for not criticizing the refs? Just it just appeared to me that way, and I don't know if he was trying to word it in a way where he wouldn't get fined, but it sounded to me he was criticizing the refs.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nico is understanding that as a coach, he's got to be careful. He's got to walk that line. But it was unusual. I think, as Jismel pointed out, he's usually pretty even keel, and he's a very positive guy, and I just love his energy. In these kinds of situations. But you could tell he was really frustrated with just kind of how things have unfolded in this one, and then how close they were from seeing at least a point out. Which if they had gotten a point out of this game, down a man, we'd just be ecstatic, and they were so close, And even at the last kick of the game, I think Jimenez sort of was sort of in a dangerous spot, had a half chance, wasn't able to get anything on it or finish the play, and so you wonder. And meanwhile, Ishmael, you mentioned LAFC wasn't at full strength. Well, let's be real, FC Dallas wasn't at full strength. Paxton did not play in this one. He was there. He's suited up. I think he would have been available if they needed him. But I don't mind that because it's like, hey, give him another week to sort of be extra sure. He's been so vital to this team. But the other big loss was Sebastian Letjet, who has been embroiled in his own controversy, and so off the record, kind of thing. I was like, what's up, and but I don't think it really bothered the team. I don't think that was a distraction with the squad. I don't think they were like, they understood that people have personal issues and stuff. So yeah, so FC Dallas wasn't at their best, perhaps. In
I
this
also
week,
want to add that not only were they not at their best, they were also forced to change formation to make up for the fact that their two starting eights were out for this game. So it I would say not ideal. I mean, we prefer to see FC Dallas play in their 4-3-3.
yeah.
While you would hope to see a formation like this in maybe a U.S. Open Cup match or something like that. But you hate to see it in a regular season match where it's forced on you, as opposed to doing it at full strength. With Leggett and Paxton available. That it's different. And
Well,
I want to add that it also forced O'Brien into action, and that just caused all sorts of frustrations to fan base. Not because, mainly because it seems like he hasn't progressed. Like he hit a certain level, and he's been at that level, and he has, we've all been waiting for him to improve, and maybe he showed hints that he can improve, but he's never really seemed. He's just at the level that he is, and he hasn't seemed to progress at all. As a fan,
yeah,
you start thinking,
I'm with you.
hey, if this is the highest he's going to be, and he's not going to improve, then maybe it's time for the team to give Kamungo or one of the other guys a real chance to play.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at this game, like there's a couple things that you can take away from it. One is, yeah, Orion's probably. I think it's done. I really don't think there's anything else to gain from that. I also do think, though, that on top of that, Velasco in the middle is an interesting tweak that this team can do. He had 3 key passes throughout the game. Like he always does come into the middle often in games, but because of the way that the team's set up, he's usually like tried to be isolated one on one on the wing first. But he was able to, even with a midfield as good as LAFC's, he was able to find gaps and like make those passes that were needed in the game. I also think that after this game, I think we can say like pretty decisively that Ibiaga is not, at least currently, uh, the starter that we thought he might be, because there's still a lot of mistakes that are made, individual mistakes. And I mean, when we look at this game, the goals that they had, they weren't on Ibiaga, but they were defensive mistakes. Paz probably at fault for the first one a little bit. You had like Ibiaga kind of whiffs at it in the second one and kind of confuses Paz a little bit. And so what I think I can take away from this game a little bit is that it's a little concerning that the team still hasn't had a clean sheet, given how good the team was defensively last year. And that doesn't, it's not a knock on everyone that's played so far, because Tafari is as good as we've wanted him to be, if not better. Farfan is consistent. And I love Ima despite everyone not liking him. And Paz has always been really good. But I feel like the strength that this team had, the backbone that it had, was how good it was defensively last year. And that was because we limited those kinds of mistakes, those kinds of stupid, idiotic things that sometimes teams in MLS end up doing defensively,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and we can't seem to scratch that off early on. Hopefully, as the season progresses, we're able to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think I'm not giving up on PBI like it just yet or anything like that. I just think Nico's not helping him or the team by rotating between him and Martinez. He needs to settle on one or the other and give them a run of games. Biaga needs to play every game to show that he deserves to be there, or make Martinez the guy and bring in Ibiaga late for his. Let's face it, that's two set piece goals that him and Nicosi have combined on.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a fluke. These guys have been dominant aerially when they play together on the defensive side, and so that they're scoring goals means that they're starting to try to figure out a way to translate that dominance in the air on the defensive side into the attack. That's a positive. That's something they can build on. But at the end of the day, you got to keep, you can't have those set piece goals negated by a lot of goal to the opposing team. So um, I just
Yeah.
wish Nico would settle on a two-man pair and let them roll and let them grow together. This rotation thing, I'm not a fan of it. Um,
Here's
yeah, but
RT
like I said, I
News
think they
with
need a run.
Biaga and Tafari with the chemistry that they're exhibiting. Yeah, we didn't even see Martinez make the field, and I thought he would have been a natural sub at some point just because of his passing ability. But well, maybe that's an overstatement. And you wanted Ibiaga just because he's so familiar with LAFC and playing in that stadium. But yeah, Jose, I think you make a good point. Look, Obrian was awful in this game, and I'm with Ishmael that probably that run is over. And if the team can get something from for him, if we can do a trade in the league or something, it's not terrible to have him on the roster because you always could use a speedy guy late in some of these matches, and he can have a role, and maybe he'll get on a run, but. Yeah, I have questions too. Like, who's the best starting pair? I don't know that we know that answer exactly yet. Maybe Ibiaga can do that. I do think I'm really impressed with Edwin, with Cerrillo at this point in the season. I think he's been he's been stepping up his game, and he was unlucky not to have a goal. And if he had tied it up with that shot, it just feels like that. It was just like his form was finally like he's feeling confident, and when he feels confident, he can be a great player. But Quino not bad in this game. Certainly not. Wasn't the worst or anything. But yeah, it's hard to think
Well,
long
I
term.
think Cerrillo continues to improve. He's not improving, by leaps and bounds, but he's making small improvements every year, every season. We're starting to see that he's getting better and better. So, it's. I think he's to the point where he's still plays certain games where we wish we had a better sixth. But I think we can't really complain as long as he keeps improving and showing improvement, which he is doing. I mean, that's what you want from a player. And unfortunately, he's probably, at the rate that he's improving, he's probably still several years from being that dominant six that we want. But I think he's on his way to being a solid, maybe not a dominant six, but at least a solid MLS six. And you're seeing it. Is it enough? I mean, I think it's enough that the team isn't going to go out and grab that dominant six that we want because they're going to say, hey, we do that and we're stunting Cerrillo's growth. He's clearly improving. He's clearly just showing that he deserves to be a starter. And, if a team can find a difference maker in another position and not have to worry about a six, I mean, they're likely going to do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I've not been the biggest Edwin fan. mainly because you have. This is why I don't like to take stuff. I'm not taking anything really out of these first couple of games because with Edwin, what we've seen over the last couple of years, since the year he became a pro, is that he has these batches of games where he's incredible. I remember when he first got signed. When he first got signed and Guerrero was injured, and he was the starter for a good 12 games in the first half of that first season of his preliminary season. It was incredible to watch because you had another homegrown that was just playing um, past our expectations and just being super consistent with it.
I remember that.
And I remember specifically what game it was that he just started to play really poorly. It was a Chicago Fire game when we went there and lost 4-0.
No.
And I think that